Graduate, well, trying to graduate. Before that, he did HTI at TUE, I guess. Yeah. So he already gave his pitch, and I actually don't think I have to tell anything more about it. He'll probably talk about it himself. So please give a warm applause for Petr.
Thank you all for the introduction, and also thank you all for coming. So the topic of my talk is usability versus user experience, and I chose this because I still have a feeling that all the community of designers is kind of confused with that. It was like 2 years ago when I read an article in one blog in the Czech Republic from one person who is specialist on online marketing and social media. He's really popular and really famous in the Czech Republic, and the article was about user experience. And he was basically describing the basics, like what is the user experience, what is the goal, and stuff like that. And it was like basics, so I didn't find the article that much interesting. But what I found interesting was the discussion below the article. There are all kinds of, because this is a really famous person, so all kinds of other famous persons and designers in the Czech web design or design scene just read it and commented on it. And I was surprised that actually like the second most frequent word in the comments was usability. Most of the people were talking about usability in the comment. Usability this and that. And I was wondering, then I came and then I read it all and I was like, why the hell are all the people commenting on usability? This is an article about user experience. So I got an idea that I will make it all clear for all of you, and then you can spread the whole client all around the world. And eventually it will maybe arrive also in the Czech Republic. So later I've read at this wonderful website interactiondesign.org an article about user experience, and I found this interesting quotation that says usability is at the heart of the user experience. So we are back there again. And I'm asking again, why? What does it do there? What does this pie, why 1/3 of this pie is usability? Because I see user experience as something very different from usability. And to make my point clear, I'll maybe first explain what I imagine behind the term user experience and what I imagine behind the term usability. So user experience. Omnipresent buzzword, everybody needs it, everybody does it, everybody wants it. Not that many people can define it easily. But it's actually really simple. If you just look at these two words, user and experience, it's really like self-explanatory. There is a user, that's some kind of person, that's for those who are researchers, it's not just the subject in the test, it's like really human, almost like you or me. And he's using our system. And this system and this usage invokes some experience in it. That's why you should focus on him or her. And this experience, what is this experience? It's all about the emotions. It's like if the user feels satisfied, angry, I don't know, if he trusts the system, if he feels happy about it, or if he feels like, he has done something for society or something. It's about addressing psychological needs, like need for security and stuff like that. And basically, mostly addressing emotions and psychological needs. So if you just look at the list of these psychological needs, that's just for a better, understanding what I mean with these needs, like need for autonomy, independence, competence, self-actualizing, or security control. That's really important in the applications such as internet banking and stuff like that. And this might look like this really something theoretical, but it's actually not. This is the ultimate goal of the user experience designer, or the ultimate skill, is that they can address these needs and the emotions through the design that the person is designing. UX also has like 3 main features. It's very individual. You can see clearly that these two users are in the very same situation, but each of them is experiencing the situation in a slightly different way. So that's the first feature of user experience. It's individual. We cannot just design for user experience in general for everybody. The second is that it's dynamic. You have probably seen this diagram. There are like, several kinds of user experience. Even before you buy some product or when you use it, you're anticipating some user experience. Like if you, I don't know, well this is, by the way, this is a timeline. It's beginning somewhere here and going down with time. Let's maybe demonstrate this on example. Let's say that you want to buy a TV set. Even before you go to the shop and buy it, you build up some expectations, like I want to have bright colors and screen big like this, and you are, envisioning yourself watching the TV and some movies in your living room. So you are actually already having experience even before you bring the TV at home. Then you are watching the TV. That's this blue block, let's say one movie, and in every single moment you are experiencing some momentary, feelings and experience basically. Then after the movie, you have like episodic experience of the whole occasion, of the whole, this experience of the whole movie. If you are having the TV for ages, you are having some like complete user experience, cumulative user experience of the whole thing. So, well, this is also kind of theoretical thing, but it's really important to realize that that's next to the individuality, it's really dynamic. It's really dependent on the time. This is just a simplified schematic showing the same. First you have anticipated UX, then momentary UX in every single moment during the usage. After each episode, you are having episodic UX, and over the whole time lifespan of the whole TV set, let's say, you are having the cumulative UX. So that was the second, it's dynamic. And the third is context dependent. Context dependent meaning dependent on physical context, where you use the stuff, when. Is it a weekend, is it a winter, is it 5 o'clock in the afternoon when you come from home, from work. Then emotional, how do you feel. Sensory, what all senses, what all information are you sensing. Is it somewhere in a cold environment, in a noisy environment, is there bright light, dark, whatever. Historical, what are you related to, some historical event or something in memory. It's like your own memory that you can relate this to. It reminds you something what happened in past. I'm not going further in this theory. It's just that I wanted to make clear what I mean when I say user experience, all these kind of things. And now let's look at the other part, usability. Usability has a definition. Some of you might have seen it already. It says the extent to which a product can be used by specified users to achieve specified goals with effectiveness, efficiency, and satisfaction in a specified context of use. Wonderful definition. I hate definitions, by the way. I don't find them anyhow useful, especially for people who are working in the field are using these kind of things on a daily basis. I find definitions useful only for people who are basically totally new and who just want to get some like really basic understanding what is it roughly about. But yeah, you can see that it's really focused on the goal, how to achieve something easily. That's my very simple definition of usability. If you look more into theory, just to be like balanced, if you look at the theory and with the user experience, you can also look at this. So typically, these are the 5 aspects of usability. First is learnability, how easily you can basically use the stuff if you have never used it before. Then efficiency, how fast or how efficiently can you achieve the goal if you have learned how to use the stuff before. Then memorability, if you basically use it once, if you can remember how to use it repeatedly. Number of errors, how much errors you do, and satisfaction. That's the pleasantness of using the design. And now I'm asking, what of all of this is actually overlapping with the aspects of user experience? I don't see much of that. Yeah, the satisfaction, I assume that it's pretty much addressing the emotions and the needs and stuff. But what does all the rest have to do with user experience? I see it. I mean, it is overlapping, but just really a little. It's not really overlapping like one would be part of another, or it would be just almost the same. I see that, of course, if you cannot achieve the goal, if you cannot complete the task, you get frustrated and that gives you a negative experience. That's for clear. So you must be able to complete the goal. But that's it. What else is there in this area in the middle? Just to show you some examples, what I mean with this, very little overlap, I think that you cannot really strive for great usability and great user experience at the same time. I'll give you an example, something what is in Rotterdam, in this museum. Can anybody who can pronounce this say it aloud? Yeah, exactly, that's what I meant. So, there is this carousel that has been designed as a cloakroom, or a wardrobe if you want. And I really like the whole, if it works. This is usability issue. Okay, maybe it doesn't work. Never mind, I can also tell you what it's about. You can just pretend that there is a nice movie with the colors and people walking around. And if you just come to the museum, you want to hang your coat somewhere. And there is this kind of carousel, which is like, I don't know, 6-7 meters in diameter. And you would basically come to it, and there is a lot of strings, and you basically take down one of the hangers. It just comes from the ceiling. You hang your coat on it, and you pull it on the string to the ceiling. So it's all basically hanging on the top of the, just underneath the ceiling. So people are basically walking underneath all the coats. So they cannot reach it. It's kind of unsafe, and it's really great fun, to search for the right rope on which your coat is hanging, and pulling it down or pushing it up and stuff. And that's something what is totally not usable at all. You cannot easily learn how to use it. Even if you are using it repeatedly, you basically still cannot do it properly. You are doing a lot of errors, and you basically cannot do it fast. It's not efficient at all. But it's great experience. It's something what you like. People are taking pictures with it. People are recording it on the video. People are talking about it, tweeting about it, and like it. So apparently the user experience is great, and the usability sucks. And I was trying to kind of combine this, like combine usability and user experience. And I said myself, what is something, really great user experience? And I decided to make a game. Because I think that the game is actually providing ultimate user experience. That's the purpose of the game, right? So I decided to create a usable game. And I made one. Wait. Oh, it's crashed. Here we go. It's called Wordless Usability. I need one person who wants to play the game. It doesn't need to be a gamer. It's not difficult, it's very usable. You are first? So come here. Now, you can go here from that side. So, this is the game. You just grab your mouse and can play. Well done! So this is perfectly usable game. It's perfectly predictable. It's clear. You learn it fast. There is no way how to make an error. It's like ideal usable game. I'll ask you, how did you like to play it?
So intense.
She's playing again. She likes it really. Yeah, I can tell you that the user experience of this game is kind of sucks. It's not really a good game, I think, but it's usable. And I've actually tested it with heuristics, and it is really usable. And with the development, I wanted to use Scrum. You know, Igor would be happy. But unfortunately, I finished the whole game before, I finished the first sprint. So probably I did something wrong. Anyway, let's continue the presentation. Let me just switch off this thingy. Yeah, so that was the game. So, my conclusion of this, I think that usability and user experience are two very important aspects of product development, design, or whatever you are designing, if it's a website or a tangible physical product. But you cannot focus on both, and you cannot focus on having great usability and great user experience at the same time. Because if something is perfectly usable, then it's boring. For some situations, it's exactly what is desired. If you are designing a cockpit of a jet fighter, you are not designing for user experience, you are designing for usability. Everything must be done correctly, fast, efficient, with no errors. That's no discussion. But if you are designing a website, if it's perfectly usable, then it's boring. Nobody's gonna like it, nobody's gonna remember it, nobody's gonna talk about it, and nobody is willing to return back to it. Because complete something what is perfectly usable doesn't require any effort, so you are not proud of you finishing it. It's not enjoyment. The enjoyment level is like really low, and there's just no fun of it. On the other hand, if you make something that is great experience, there is usually some challenges, and challenge equals usability issue in most of the cases. So I say that first, when you are designing, you must decide if you are striving for usability or for user experience, and then just follow this road. And of course, you don't totally disregard the other aspect, but you can only set one of these two as your first focus point. So if there is anybody who can explain me why all the people are talking about usability under the articles about user experience, I'd like to hear it now. And I'd like to discuss about it. So thank you.
Any questions?
Questions? Oh, do we have a second microphone? No.
I can also.
Now you can do it without. Come on. What's wrong with it?
Okay.
Yeah, I can shout. In your first or second slide, you have the user experience, the circle.
Yeah.
And usability is in one of the three.
Yeah, exactly.
But later on, you use two circles here in this one.
Yeah.
So there's some inconsistency.
It is, yeah, that's what I meant actually. In that article that I mentioned on the second slide, they said the usability is actually part of user experience. So there was like this part of the user experience. But I say that it's a separate thing. They are overlapping somewhere. That's the part where you cannot complete the goal, so then you are frustrated, and that brings you a negative user experience because you have came across a usability issue. That's the overlapping part. It's like really this small. Even if you look at the 5 components of usability, basically the pleasantness is only one of them. So yeah, let's say this might be like 20% of the circle, but definitely not more, from my point of view.
Okay, how would you made a game about usability. How would your game be with user experience, but not with usability? So
Like, look at all the other games.
Yeah. Do you think there's no usability in there?
It's definitely not in the focus. I mean, indeed, if you cannot do anything in a game, which means it's perfectly unusable, then it's not a positive experience either. But the usability of the game is usually pretty poor. it's on purpose. It's on purpose unpredictable, so that, and there are challenges, which means that if you're playing it again, if it's unpredictable, you expect that something else happens, not the same thing what happened yesterday. You know, there are challenges, so stuff is difficult to do. The goals are difficult to complete. There are several steps. It's not efficient. It's taken loads of time. And these are exactly the opposite of usability guidelines. And that's exactly the reasons why the game is good and why people love to play the game. We have a game designer here in the room. He can tell us about it more.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm not really a great game designer. The thing with game design is that indeed, when you design a game, you know, often you have the player die. You know, that's the challenge. If you don't do it correctly, you die. You know? In most games, the thing is, you try to make the game usable in the sense that you want the player not to die because your controls are crap or because your level design is bad. But you do want your players to die. So the thing is, you want to propose a challenge. You don't want to get killed. Everyone is frustrated when they play a game and they get killed and they feel like it's unjust.
Yeah.
But if you're killed and there's some justice, then that's the part.
That's exactly the model of flow, if you have heard about it.
Yeah.
It's
Cluster,
yeah. So there is like a certain level of challenge, you know, if it's like challenging a lot or not, and skills. And if you have low skills, you need low challenge to be able to play the game and enjoy it. If you have high skills, so it means that you have played this game a million times, then you know, small challenge doesn't make it enjoyable anymore. So then you need bigger challenges and so on. So if you imagine a game that is perfectly usable, there is basically no challenge, and that's a problem. Whatever skills you have, it's not enjoyable ever.
That's right, but that's a completely different discussion. You're saying here that you're not interested in definition, but this entire discussion is about definition. If you're saying that, like, a game is completely unusable, there's no...
No, I'm not saying that it's completely. I'm saying that usability is not the primary focus of game designer.
Yeah, I understand that, but the goal is the flow, the perfect flow.
Yeah.
But usability is then about the interface. So if you take World of Warcraft, that's perfect. You have the ideal flow, you level up. But if you make the UI horrible, that's gonna influence the usability, user experience of the player.
It really depends on the game, I think. There are also these games, like these puzzle games, where it's really a challenge to find out which part of this puzzle is actually interactive, what you can move where and stuff like that. And you are really challenging against the interface, not against the story, kind of.
That's exactly it. It's really about the game. So I can create an exactly funny way to show you a game with good user experience and bad usability. So you really simplified this whole thing and you made it
On
nice.
purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right, yeah. I agree that it's really dependent on the context, but actually this whole talk and this whole presentation is supposed to kind of weight them or level up this, you know, bunch of huge heap of articles and opinions about usability equals or almost equals user experience. So then I want to kind of level up this whole bunch, going to the other side of the weights and just do something like, just to do at least some trigger some discussion.
Well, I think you succeed.
Yeah, I think you gave an example of a game and a piece of art, basically the pulling up your code. And I think I think games in a way are a part of art. And the goal of those things is not to provide a usable thing with it. For instance, my camera doesn't make photos that look like Picasso thing because I would really annoy. That would be a bug. PowerPoint has a horrible usability, and that's why it creates a bad experience. Things that you use every day, I think the usability is definitely a huge part of how you experience that thing. I think
for sure.
The examples in that sense perfectly show your point, but they're not examples of things that normally we would try to optimize optimize the usability for anyway.
Yeah, that was part of what I was saying basically. In some situations you really strive for perfect usability, like if you are designing a cockpit of a jet fighter. You are not really intentionally building up challenges to make it more fun. You know? And in that case, of course, you focus on usability, but in another case, like in the game design, you focus on the experience, which means that it doesn't mean that the usability must suck, but it means that it's just not primary focus.
No, but I think the difference is you say in some cases usability is very big part of the user experience. I would say in almost most cases it is. I think that's the difference we're trying to say.
Could be.
Would it be correct if we said that usability on several levels of abstraction is instrumental towards user experience? Because to illustrate...
That sounds like you can make a nice definition out of it.
Perhaps. No, but just to give I want to give two short examples. In the terms of games, as you said, if the UI sucks, I mean, to give a cognitive aspect, if you put information on health and armor, I don't know, around your crosshairs, then it's less of a dual task and it will increase your performance and therefore it will be a better UI and increase user experience. To take the example you gave of the merry-go-round carousel, if the ropes would break if you pulled at them too hard, it would be an even worse usability, but that would influence the experience negatively, where else a bad usability would positively influence. So I think it depends on the level of abstraction.
Maybe, but I would be careful at that, saying that better usability would improve the user experience of the carousel, because then it would be just, you know, what's wrong with the lockers? It's perfectly usable, fine, but how many lockers do you remember from the museums that you have visited ever? I don't really know. Probably no, not because it was no fun of that, not interesting at all. Why should I pay attention to that? But this carousel I really do remember because it was just fun to use. I've spent like half an hour there, which is like lost time, you know, because it was just in a, you know, just in the wardrobe. I wanted to hang my coat, and I just killed a lot of time, but I enjoyed it, and that's what I find as a good user experience. But yeah, it was definitely not very usable.
But it's not only about fun, right? You are really narrowing it down and saying, okay, so it was
Yeah,
fun,
that's true.
I enjoyed, I was like having really, I was in scenario or something. But the thing is that I do have a great experience with the lockers because I don't have to carry all the stuff. And that's the purpose of the lockers. And that's why it gives me a great experience with them. They're perfectly usable. I don't have any problems with locking that up and opening it up afterwards. And they're delivering a great user experience. It's all about the purpose. Games are designed to make it, to challenge you. Lockers are made to put stuff there. And hangers are made to hang a coat and do whatever stuff you need to do. And if you have a purpose to make people interact there, then it's different. It's a social design or something. So we have a different purpose, and that's a different talk already probably. So
Yeah, it is. I cannot simplify user experience to enjoyment.
Looking from one perspective, in my
Yeah, it is. Like, it's on purpose just to, you know, show the contrast and the other opinion. Of course, if you can also look at other aspects of user experience, like, I don't know, safety, security, you know. If you want to hang the coat on the hanger that is just hanging above the people, you might not feel secure, you know, it could fall off or whatever. But in the locker you just feel like be more secure that it's really locked in the box, nothing's gonna happen with it. And it, of course it is indeed part of user experience. But yeah, that's probably a slightly different case. I don't know if it, yeah, does it react to you? I don't know if it was a question actually.
Maybe I can add a little to that remark because I think the usability of that locker, when it's you make no memory of that locker because it just did the work well, but then the user experience of the museum is affected by the usability of the locker. So it's like a component of the whole system.
Yeah, indeed.
So you have a good experience visiting that museum because you can get stuff there.
Yeah.
But then when you scope down into just the locker, then of course there's no.
Yeah, we are again going to these details about user experience, how you perceive it. If you know, remember the timeline with the different types of user experience. Imagine that I'm in the museum and I put my stuff on the hanger and I can feel like insecure if it's gonna be there when I return back from the visit, you know. know. So the momentary user experience is maybe not that great, but when I come back and the code is there, I take it, and then I actually realize, oh, that was really funny to use this carousel thingy. So the episodic experience of this visit of the museum is great. And yeah, that's basically a different type of user experience that we are talking about.
But actually, I think nobody is disagreeing, because the thing he's saying is that if usability would be part of the pie of user experience, then by definition, better usability would mean a better user experience. So I think all he's saying is that that there is no such relation. Better usability does not by definition mean better user experience. Therefore, they might influence each other, but one is not part of the other, right?
Exactly, yeah. It's related, but not really strongly related from my perspective. That was the little part that was like overlapping, you know, these two circles overlapping. Yeah. So it's not, I wouldn't say that one is part of another or the other way around. I've also seen that. I just say that it's really like two very separate things that are related here, but are not really dependent on each other strongly.
Yeah, it's also tricky. I recently bought Philips wake-up box for my parents. And in my opinion, it's a great user experience. I really like it. And they like it when I set it up for them, but the usability of that thing is just horrible. So you cannot really set an alarm and stuff like that. So, and they really loved it when I was setting it up for them. So what happens after several times, my mom tried to call me and ask me how to actually set it up again. So I explained her several times, and after that they just stopped using it because it wasn't usable. So, and there is no experience anymore. So
Yeah,
I mean,
that's exactly the case. That's something what has been built with the focus on experience, and the usability was secondary. That's exactly what I'm saying. You cannot make it perfectly usable and provide perfect user experience at the same time, because, yeah.
But at the same time, Anna said that, like, because of usability was sucks, the user experience was destroyed, right? Like,
yeah,
Exactly. That's this balance.
That's my point. But because they make
In my humble opinion, I think it doesn't really matter how much you hate definitions. It all boils down to definition. So it doesn't really matter how do you define user experience and visibility. At the end of the day, it would boil down to the point of how do you define user experience, whether it is episodic, whether it is momental, whether it is lifetime. It doesn't really matter. So you can hate definitions, but we as a researcher can only say that you have to live with definitions. You have to operationalize your definition, and then on the basis of that, in my opinion, you'll be able to differentiate. And then you can say that user experience and usability have nothing to do with each other. It's just a way you operationalize something. You know, it has inherently, these labels have no value. It is what we assign to these labels. And what we assign to these labels is actually becomes a point of discussion. So, you know, it's really the matter of how do we see these things, you know. So
Yeah, but okay, I agree with that. So, well, if you look at the definitions, what is actually in this definition, what is actually stating that it's...
That's a problem because no one is able to define yet. You're the first one who's trying very hard to define it.
I'm trying to avoid it.
Because, for example, there's a long discussion that people should differentiate service experience from user experience, a face-to-face service. There's a long debate, people should differentiate brand experience from user experience, because brand is something else and user experience is something else. There's a long debate also the usability and user experience. You know, people can't really define that. And then when you go into user experience, there's a long debate between episodic and momentum and all these things. So, you know, people are not able to define it yet. So that's why we can, it's a very good thing to talk about it, but I think you have to define something before you're able to comment on it.
Yeah, okay, so if you look at the definitions, just as I've mentioned here before some definitions, then I have a feeling that usability is something really purely pragmatic, how to make the stuff done easily. And user experience is something purely hedonic, how to design something for certain feelings. Then I still don't see much of the overlap there.
Yeah, she gave a very good example that you can't disturb the feelings because of mechanical things. So people also say that user experience is art and usability is science, because you have more objective ways to measure that. And experience more like sort of artistic. But yeah, I'm a scientist, so I don't believe in art. So I want to have reproducible things. So as a scientist, I still like usability somewhere in user experience.
Like completely, or just overlapping and also hanging something out?
No, it doesn't really matter as long as it's how do you define it.
Okay.
That's my point of view. It's very hard, so we can talk about it. But I like drinks, so that's not necessary.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Any more comments? So then we can, if you have some extra time, we can still make a competition in the world of usability game. So if it's all, you don't have any more comments? Oops, I've broken it. Then Ivar is gonna close this whole day, I guess, and then we can have a beer. Thank you.